Dr. William Barrett Bill Foster, born and raised in Watts, California, Los Angeles, on 423rd Creighton Street, sometimes got in trouble, but promised Officer Wells he'll never steal another apple from Yonduchi's cart again. And when he attended high school, Mrs. Coombs trusted him by dismissing him from just enough classes so he was able to hold down a job that got him into college, where he met and married the love of his life, Claire Temple. However, being young, with both pursuing their own goals, put them into conflict with each other, which consisted of arguments, fights, and trial separations that eventually ended in divorce. Thereafter, Claire Temple went on to get her degree and served internship at a large hospital before starting a clinic with Dr. Noah Bernstein, while Bill got his Ph.D. in biochemistry and went on to work for Stark Industries. Succeeding this, when a scientific genius, Dr. Hank Pym, creator of the Pym particle formula, while being the founding member of the Avengers and also the superhero Giant Man, or better yet, the name that Captain America coined, Goliath, found himself stuck at the height of 10 feet after exceeding his safety limit of a quarter of an hour. He decided to get help from a specialist in biochemistry. So with the aid of Tony Stark, who sent over Dr. Bill Foster, now one of the nation's leading biochemists, working in Tony Stark's plans and research division of his Baltimore factory, Bill Foster quickly went to work on trying to strengthen Hank's blood cells enough to enable it to stand the strain of him changing back to his normal size. However, during this time, the white supremacist group, infamously known as the Sons of the Serpent, would attack Bill Foster outside, while he tried desperately to fight back, only to be beaten unconscious for 60 shameful seconds before Hank Pym, not long after, discovered him regaining consciousness, while next explaining what had happened to him. So Hank Pym, now angered, vowed to avenge Bill Foster for what the Sons of the Serpent did to him. However, later on, unbeknownst to Bill Foster, Steve Rogers' Captain America would be abducted by the Sons of the Serpent. So Hank Pym, in a strategic move, decided to inform the Attorney General that he, along with his mighty Avengers, would not help combat the Sons of the Serpent, as Hank Pym knew that vital information would later be televised on all news stations, which would buy the Avengers time to safely recover Captain America. Subsequently, Bill Foster, seeing the news broadcast only, felt betrayed and made a decision to no longer work with Hank Pym. So as time progressed, Bill Foster would later surprise Hank Pym, who was now stuck at 12 feet, by returning to work in the suburban ranch-style house which doubled as a laboratory, after finding out Hank Pym and his Avengers indeed went on to defeat the Sons of the Serpent. When suddenly, after a few moments later, part of the ceiling will be blown out by the supervillain Arthur Parks, known as the Living Laser, who immediately attacked Hank Pym, while Hank Pym next forced the reluctant to lead Bill Foster away to escape for safety. So after the Living Laser was defeated, Hank Pym and Bill Foster continued working together. Furthermore, the experiment would eventually be a success, when Hank Pym was now able to shrink down to ant size after intense concentration and then back to his normal size, while Bill Foster went on to coin the name Ant-Man. Furthermore, Bill Foster will go on leave from Stark's labs to occasionally be Hank Pym's lab assistant, which unsurprisingly came with the dangers of being around superheroes. Like when analyzing the synthetic life form called Dragon Man, he was attacked by the 9th century alchemist supervillain with aspiration of world domination, Diablo, who fortunately only wanted Dragon Man. And then later, when Bill Foster was arriving in the mansion's multi-vehicle garage, he would be saved by the Black Panther T'Challa, after almost being attacked by the mutant supervillain David Cannon, also known as Whirlwind. Thereafter, in the building lab section, with Bill Foster present, Hank Pym will be attacked by the nuclear physicist and communist agent Dr. Chen Lu, also known as Radioactive Man. So Bill Foster attempted to intercept the attack, but was shot with an adhesive substance by Radioactive Man, which was undissolvable. Furthermore, sometime later, Bill Foster will be seen with the Avengers at a Sea Splash pier during a press conference, and then within his lab challenging Hank Pym and his wife's estate lawyer, Mr. Blackburn and Mr. Matthews, about the assumed accidental death of Hank Pym, who was now going by Ant-Man, and his wife Janet Van Dyne, known as the Wasp, during an actual arson attack to their lab site, where unbeknownst to everybody, they escaped, but now stuck at ant size. So right after, Bill Foster visited the burnt down laboratory, searching unsuccessfully for any clues before Iron Man next showed up with the electro scanner Bill Foster requested in order to probe and scan the area for any readings of life forms that may be present to the unseen eye. Unfortunately, there was nothing. So a pessimistic Iron Man left while a persistent Bill Foster continued his search. Nevertheless, Hank Pym and his wife will be discovered alive after they regain their height back during a battle with the supervillain Michael Craig Stockton, also known as Dr. Nemesis. Furthermore, the Pym particle formula fascinated Bill Foster so much, he experimented with it, hoping to improve on it, which he did, when he created a permanent one-time use of a fast-acting expanding gas version that eliminated all the harmful side effects of size changing, while gaining pure mass from another dimension, as he now towered at the height of 15 feet by using mental command, while now going by the alias Black Goliath. So Black Goliath decided to use his new ability to try and get his wife back by coming up with an elaborate story of needing her support after he was stuck at giant size and had to get a job at a circus in order to earn fast money to fund the experiment to rectify his situation, since he didn't want to be financially dependent on Hank Pym or Tony Stark. So when she fell for it, his plans would later be foiled when he caught her with Luke Cage, who unbeknownst to him was prior dating her. So now both superpowered men collided in a battle for the woman they loved in an epic clash of the titans. However, surprisingly, Black Goliath managed to hold his own despite Luke Cage being more experienced in combat than him. Unsurprisingly, the battle was interrupted, and then after, Claire Temple will go on to choose Luke Cage over Black Goliath, feeling Luke Cage was more capable in handling any situation, which the thought of that forever scarred Black Goliath, because he couldn't be the husband she wanted. Thereafter, now in LA, working at Tony Stark's Stark West Research and Development Operations as the director, he would visit his hometown of Watts after 15 years just to check out his old neighborhood and see how much had changed, when suddenly he was attacked by a couple of old street lorders known as the Hungry Watchers, who tried to strong-arm rob him. However, unfortunately for them, they weren't counting on their victim rapidly growing up to 15 feet and manhandling them like a super heavyweight behemoth, taking on a bunch of light featherweight panhandlers, tossing them around like street hookers, and next humiliating them when he wrapped them up using the top end of a lamppost for the police to find, while after leaving them to be broadcasted on all national news outlets. Moreover, Bill Foster would get a phone call from Hank Pym, who changed his name once again, this time to Yellow Jacket, seemingly suffering from an identity crisis, as he was at the hospital accompanying his wife who got injured by a mine. So Hank Pym went on to welcome Bill Foster to the superhero community, which Bill Foster was reluctant to join. Following this, he would head out to check on his protégés, the Whiz Kids, Dr. Herbert Bell, Dr. Dale West, and Dr. Talia Kruma, that worked in research and development for the police force in Lab Number 1 as three of the world's finest inventive minds. Thereafter, the next morning, he would read in the newspaper that 8 laboratory warehouses had been systematically looted, which left where he works at to be next, since there was a shipment of valuable, naturally occurring radioactive metal called radium due to come in that night. Nonetheless, Black Goliath went on to lay in wait inside the warehouse for the culprits, who were revealed to be the nuclear physicist Ronald English, also known as Atom Smasher, along with his henchmen. So Black Goliath went on to do what he does best, and that's dominate those who choose not to run but instead face him. However, Atom Smasher, who could turn himself into pure energy, was proven to be more than Black Goliath could handle when he was constantly bombarded with burning radiation blasts as destruction and explosions surrounded him, giving Black Goliath no chance to catch his breath or get his senses together in a room containing high-octane fuel, while the warehouse being near an airport tank farm that housed 10 million gallons of avgas that could ground a whole city if ignited. Unfortunately, Black Goliath would suffer his first defeat, and the multi-million-dollar warehouse he was trying to protect would now be destroyed. Meanwhile, Atom Smasher, along with his men, got away. Luckily, however, after barely surviving falling in a deep drainage ditch and then going unconscious on the other side of the road, he was rescued by a lovely senior flight attendant named Celia Jackson, who brought him to her home to recover from his injuries, while after properly introducing one another, and next engaged in a lengthy conversation before falling in love. Soon after, Bill Foster would task his Whiz Kids with creating some sort of portable sensor that'll lead, unbeknownst to the Whiz Kids, him to Atom Smasher and his men, which it did, to a hideout that had a sky roof Black Goliath used as an element of surprise when he crashed through it, and beat the living snot out of the goons as he fluctuated from his normal 6'2" stature to giant size in order to catch the goons off guard by quickly maneuvering around before taking on their boss himself, Atom Smasher. However, Black Goliath would strategically attack him close range, not giving him enough space to zone out and use his blast, which Black Goliath took that opportunity to completely wrap and bound him in a mineral consistent of carbon, so it can absorb his natural radioactivity. When suddenly a shot was fired, and Black Goliath was half an inch away from taking a sniper bullet to his head from someone unknown who intentionally wanted to separate Black Goliath from Atom Smasher, so to get a clear shot when he next shot Atom Smasher in the back, killing him. Unsurprisingly, Black Goliath would try to chase after the sniper who was on the rooftop, but unfortunately it would be too late as he already got away when suddenly Black Goliath felt a churning in his guts, a twisting of mind and body that consisted of chills, nausea, and pain, which was the beginning symptoms of a rare form of radiation poison after fighting Atom Smasher. Succeeding this, Bill Foster would one day arrive at his facility only to discover it was being attacked by several masked, heavily armed men on motorcycles who stole a top secret package belonging to Tony Stark, while Herbert was outside wearing an experimental force field vest which Bill Foster quickly removed before it exploded after overloading. Not long after, Bill Foster as Black Goliath tracked down the escaping criminals on motorcycles who were being pursued by the police, so he quickly intercepted them and next grew to 15 feet after jumping off a roof and landing in front of them to begin his assault, which lasted less than a minute, when he was suddenly attacked from behind by the hideous, deformed, superpowered boss who was going by the name Vulcan. So they went on to engage in a colossal battle for the stolen package. Unfortunately, Black Goliath, still new to the superhero game, constantly made mistakes that caused him to lose sight of the man-beast, who thereafter escaped while the package was nowhere in sight. Following this, the police, fire crew, and rescue paramedics will be there until the next day. Succeeding this, Black Goliath will be seen ending the celebration of a couple of crooks who just robbed a bank for $5 million in cash, while leaving the bank guards seriously injured. Luckily, Black Goliath had a micro-circuit police band transceiver work into the fabric of his belt that helped him make it to the scene of the crime on time. However, one of the robbers were in possession of a stolen old Stark International anti-proton cutter designed to slice across nuclear lines of force when it shot a flat plane of energy that would cut through anything. Nevertheless, Black Goliath will destroy the power pack that emits it and next apprehend the crooks. Thereafter, Bill Foster will drive halfway across LA County to answer a satellite call from Tony Stark concerning the missing top secret package. Succeeding this, Black Goliath, who was at the Los Angeles Police Department talking to Sergeant Perez, will be interrupted by Celia's 12-year-old nephew, Keith Jackson, about a bank robbery happening at Valley National Bank, where his aunt was currently at. So Black Goliath, along with the police force, rushed there, when they soon realized the bank robber was none other than the supervillain Wilbur Day, also known as Stilt-Man. So Black Goliath charged into battle without a second thought, tackling the supervillain who was wearing a new and improved battle suit with telescopic legs that could extend itself up to 290 feet before the two crashed down within the bank's roof, where Celia was almost injured. So Stilt-Man began to release concentrated tear gas in order for the bank personnel and police to be disoriented, while he used that time to try and loot the vault and leave unscathed, which would be futile as Black Goliath was still standing. So Stilt-Man decided to use Celia as a hostage. However, her nephew Keith tried to intervene, but Celia managed to free herself by scratching the eye of Stilt-Man, who next shot them all with his painless Z-ray gun that was powered by neutron star matter, which warped local space around them and transported them across the galaxy to a desert planet called Kurger, where they were immediately being bombarded by a deadly dust storm in the blistering hot terrain called Shara's Forge. So later that night, while asleep, they were frighteningly awoken by an alien creature named Goliath, who is an interstellar explorer that crash landed on the planet, and next used his converter gun to create molecule thick skin suits that preserve the body's essential moisture for Keith and Celia, who were freezing from the cold. Moreover, after a night and a day of traveling, they made it inside a mythical stronghold where they encountered its robot guardian, Mortag, that unfortunately went on to end the life of Goliath. And next battle, Black Goliath, and a kilometer upon cubic kilometer of advanced machinery and instrumentation stretching off into every direction, all functioning as perfectly as it did eons ago. So with the crucial help from Celia, Black Goliath managed to defeat Mortag. Thereafter, they used a dimensional transporter Goliath prior created with the equipment in the stronghold to go back home. As time progressed, Bill Foster and Tony Stark will use Ben Grimm, famously known as The Thing, as a test subject in a chamber simulation wearing an atmospheric suit to see if it was strong enough for a normal man to traverse the harsh surface of planet Venus, when suddenly the facility was consumed with tear gas by the supervillain Howard Mitchell, also known as the Hijacker, who was after top secret prototype technology to sell on the black market. Nevertheless, Bill Foster would release Ben Grimm from the chamber, who went on to safely remove the unconscious scientist from the facility, while Bill Foster used that time to secretly mask up as Black Goliath and stop the Hijacker from stealing advanced shield hardware, sophisticated defense weaponry, and irreplaceable space exploration gear worth millions. So with the help of Ben Grimm, they took care of the nuisance Hijacker. Succeeding this, the champions, consisting of Hercules, the Black Widow Natasha Romanoff, and the Archangel Warren Worthington, will find themselves taking a 1.5 second out of control plunge 25 stories above street level in their $2 million shiny new sky car Bill Foster ironically designed, before quickly growing to catch the aerial vehicle with a minor assist from the Archangel and the arriving Robert Drake, also known as Iceman. Following this, Black Goliath went on to help the champion by welding and fixing the aircraft's crumbling metal that was suffering from too much strain, as he next sent them off on their way. Not long after, Black Goliath will find himself fighting the returning Stilt-Man from last week, who is now after Tony Stark's top secret package that was revealed to contain the interstellar null-life bomb, which is capable of destroying the entire star system, when suddenly the champion showed up to assist Black Goliath. However, Stilt-Man will make his escape once again, but Black Goliath this time will be on hot pursuit, vowing to finally end Stilt-Man's terror, which he did, while the brutal defeat was televised for all to see. Furthermore, speaking of televised, there will be a televised recruitment offer to any superhero who wanted to be a defender, which, unlike being an Avenger, you didn't have to follow any rules, and there's no paperwork involved. So Black Goliath decided to join, and next be part of a plot to rid the Incredible Hulk from being on the team, since he was a liability with his anger issues. However, the altercation was interrupted by Hercules, who informed them that Iron Man revealed herds of supervillains had declared themselves to be defenders also, while causing chaos on Manhattan Island. Consequently, the Hulk refused to aid them after what prior transpired, so he went his separate way. Thereafter, our heroes were divided into 3 teams, with Black Goliath joining the team of Hercules to go after a group of supervillains consisting of the Blob, Fred Dukes, along with a life model decoy of the supervillain called Sagittarius, who was with Abner Jenkins, known as Beetle, Batroc the Leaper, Plantman Samuel Smithers, Electro Maxwell Dillon, and Whirlwind, who all just got done robbing the Diamond District. Unsurprisingly, the authorities would show up, but shockingly attempt to place everyone under arrest. Nevertheless, the supervillains would escape, while our heroes quickly gave chase down Grand Central Station, where the supervillains boarded a subway train towards freedom. However, with Black Goliath's valiant effort, he would only manage to temporarily slow down the train's acceleration when trying to grab it in place with the help of Hercules. Unsurprisingly, they would eventually catch up with the supervillains and inevitably defeat them in a chaotic battle for the ages in the subway tunnel. Following this, Black Goliath, along with mostly all the other recruits, would drop out on joining the Defenders. Furthermore, Black Goliath secretly and constantly ran tests on himself until he was forced to face the inescapable truth that he was dying from a unique form of radiation poison. So later on, he applied for another leave of absence to work within the mammoth underground corridors of the most advanced energy research complex in the free world, known as Project Pegasus, located in upstate New York, as a top scientist, hoping to find a cure while being escorted by the now hired security guard Ben Grimm and the head of security Quasar to perform experiments on the corpse of Atom Smasher in order to find a new source of usable energy. Thereafter, during a game of poker, they will be interrupted by a red alert when the radioactive mutant Nucleus was released from his energy dampening crib in order to cause havoc. So when Bill Foster revealed his alter ego of Black Goliath to Ben Grimm for the first time while wearing a new costume, Ben Grimm suggested Black Goliath should start calling himself Giant Man instead, before he went on to take on the childlike atomic mutant against Ben Grimm's advice. However, Bill Foster, now Giant Man, knew he had contracted the rare form of radiation poison months ago, so he didn't care about the radiation the mutant was letting off, since Nucleus couldn't do much to Giant Man's high-density body structure, but only give him radiation burns if he wasn't careful. As also, Giant Man felt he needed the victory since he hadn't had a good clean win since he became a superhero. However, unfortunately for Giant Man, it would be Ben Grimm to defeat Nucleus after hitting him straight into the heart of the experimental null-gray generator, which, combined with nuclear radiation, neutralized him before he triggered a nuclear disaster. Thereafter, Giant Man and Quasar will begin the cleanup process of the aftermath, when abruptly another red alert will go off, causing our heroes to split up to find the cause of the problem, which Giant Man will locate in a now damaged thermal research module caused by 2 of 5 female warriors from an alternate dimension with energy elements in their costumes that heighten their formidable natural abilities. Subsequently, Giant Man will manage to defeat the 2 women called Titania and Poundcakes, while Quasar defeated Letha along with Screaming Mimi, and Ben Grimm defeated Thundra. However, unbeknownst to our heroes, the women already accomplished their mission by placing a device levels below within the nuclear research module, so the scientist Dr. Tom Leitner, who was secretly in cahoots with the supervillains, would discover and activate the 9th projector in order to destroy Project Pegasus. Moreover, after attending an emergency meeting with the Pegasus Security Council, they would come to the conclusion there was a traitor in their midst. So the project security chief formed 2 special task forces, one to re-examine all personal files for falsifications, and the other to analyze monitor tapes for suspicious activity, which will reveal Dr. Tom Leitner as the prime suspect. Shockingly thereafter, there will be another attack in the facility when Silas King, also known as Solar, attacked Quasar, while Ulysses Claw went on to attack and knock out our heroes with his sound converter when he absorbed every sound vibration within the tunnel and released it in one mighty devastating blast, leaving our heroes to be later transported to the infirmary for treatment. Nevertheless, that was only the beginning for our heroes, when they now had to battle Dr. Tom Leitner, who had transformed into the 9th Man, which is a living space warp, drawing matter and energy into the non-infinite dimensions of his own body. Surprisingly, Giant Man would sacrifice himself by allowing 9th Man to suck him in, so he could try and enlarge himself enough inside of him that he would cut the 9th Man off from the dimensional plane, which didn't work, possibly dooming Giant Man forever.